What is happening, everybody? All right, so I want to talk to you guys about drive shafts, namely the difference between the stock Hellcat, the Redeye / Demon drive shaft, and your typical aftermarket drive shaft for the Hellcat. Now, before I get into this video, I've got to send a huge thank you and shout out to my main man, Multiple Mopars. That is the drive shaft out of his Redeye, has been donated to Project Revlon. Freaking awesome, brother. I do appreciate that a ton. I'll get into the reasons why and all of that later on, but for now, I want to go over the differences between the stock Hellcat and the Redeye / Demon drive shaft, and also why would I go with that drive shaft versus this drive shaft? Doesn't really seem to make any sense. If this one's supposed to be lighter, manufacturers claim that it'll make the car run better. Why would I take out a drive shaft like that and replace it with the Redeye drive shaft? So let's get into the specs really quickly. Stock drive shaft is going to check in right at 32 pounds. Redeye is going to check in at 34. The aftermarket checks in at 26. So 26 pounds is 8 pounds lighter than the Redeye and about 6 pounds lighter than the stock drive shaft. Is that going to be enough to warrant a difference in performance? Tough to say, but I can tell you there are plenty of demons out there running around, running nicely low into the 10s, high into the 9s with that stock drive shaft. Not so sure, but we will put it to the test. Now, the drive shaft that is in that car now, it is this drive shaft, but it's got CV joints on either end. Now, why would that be? Well, the big issue with the aftermarket drive shaft over the stock style drive shaft being a two-piece is vibration. Now, you can do whatever you want to try to quell that, but because of the angle of the dangle with the diff and the trans and everything else that goes into this stuff, believe me when I tell you, you got to run a two-piece or you're potentially going to run into a vibration issue. Now, let's get into the differences just with the stock drive shaft versus the Redeye. First of all, visually, really nothing's going to jump out at you that's going to be any different. If you're really paying attention, you'll see how the CV joint will have this black band on it versus the stock one doesn't. I don't know if that's something that's continuous with all of the Redeye and Demon drive shafts, but it's like that with these, so you can tell it pretty easily apart. Secondly, you can tell by the part numbers. Part number on a 15, get this thing to focus here, checking in AE right here is what you're looking at. And the last three, 6, 7, 8 AE. These have a little bit different part number configuration, but the last three is 846 AB. So this AE, my understanding is that it goes AE, FG, HI, although, because it's, year specific. That's just the specific drive shaft for the Redeye, 846 AB. But here's what I wanted to show you guys. First of all, on most of these drive shafts, when they fail, they're going to fail on the tail shaft end, on the smaller diameter area. That's the transmission side over there. And just to give you an idea, this is kind of a cool way. They don't have any stickers on them. This will give you an indication as far as what they sound like if you thump them. This is stock, kind of hollow sounding. Here's the Redeye. Hear the difference? Try that again for you. Here's the Redeye. So you got a thicker wall thickness on the secondary, the tail section of that drive shaft. The front side kind of does the same, but not as markedly different. You can hear the stock Redeye. So not a huge difference there, but still a difference nonetheless. Enough of a difference to where there's about a 2 pound, where it's exactly 2 pounds difference between the Redeye and the stock drive shaft. Now, keep in mind, there is that 8 pound difference between the aftermarket and the Redeye. You got to figure there's probably 3, maybe 4 pounds in that carrier bearing. Not so sure that that's going to be enough of a difference to warrant the claim that single piece drive shaft is going to make the car run better, but we are going to put this to the test. Another thing you got to remember too is this is a 4-inch shaft versus the significantly smaller, I think it's 3-inch and maybe 3 1/4 or whatever it is. I haven't measured it, but smaller by about that much all the way across. The wider diameter actually creates a higher inertial load, so that might mitigate a little bit of the weight advantage there. But also, to that point, this drive shaft on my car did vibrate at a cruise speed of about 90 odd miles an hour, and then that would get worse as speed went up. Now, that's fairly common with Hellcat one-piece drive shafts. I've got to figure that if something is not running true, if there's a vibration, that's going to consume some power as well. It's just not running as true as a stock drive shaft. And the vibration thing, again, it's a geometry issue. Without getting too technical, not to mention the fact I don't know all the exact specifics, but in talking to some folks, figuring out pretty quickly that there's reasons why there are multiple designs of the aftermarket drive shaft that are being introduced is just to try to kill that vibration, with some aftermarket manufacturers actually looking to switch to a 2-piece to mimic the stock drive shafts, at least in terms of harmonics, I guess you could say. But anyway, again, don't want to get too deep into drive shaft theory, technology, any of that kind of stuff. Basically, long and short, we're putting the Redeye in Project Revlon for a couple of reasons. One, my car does not make enough power to hurt a stock Redeye / Demon drive shaft. Two, we need the extra vibration dampening because, yes, she now does have the 309 gear. And because of that, well, you get vibration come in 15% sooner, and it's coming in a little bit too soon for me at typical highway cruising speeds of 75 to 85 miles an hour. You're going to have that vibration. And yes, here in Texas, we do have a highway that you can actually cruise at 85 miles an hour legally. Good old 130 tollway. So anyway, getting back to it, you do run into that question of, is it worth it to run an aftermarket drive shaft if you're going to have to suffer the consequences of it only to yield a durability gain? Or is it better to try to source a factory piece that is already set up for the car that will provide the durability that you need for a car that's more or less at stock horsepower with a gear, in this case, that 309 gear, give you the durability, give you the smoothness, and hey, to that point, it's still a Mopar part, which would mean that everything on my car would be a Mopar part. I think that'd be kind of cool too. So at any rate, I hope that helps you guys out. If you're looking at the differences between the drive shafts, again, visually, as far as lengths, diameters, dimensions, everything like that, they are identical. Hell, if you pick them up, you cannot tell the difference in 2 pounds. If you pick the two of them up, you would not know which one you're carrying. Should just be a quick bolt in. No issues. I'm not seeing there being any issues anyway coming into this. And you get the durability of the upgraded drive shaft with hopefully out the issues of vibration. So anyway, there you go. That's a wrap. Adios.